What's cracking YouTube? Dan Reese here from ZebranoWoodcraft.com. This weekend I'm actually on best man duty for a good friend of mine called Joseph, and he asked me to make him something special for his wedding ring. So in this video I'm going to show you the process I used to make Joe's wedding ring, which is made with Damascus steel, Macassar ebony, a Megalodon tooth and 2 bands of sterling silver. So without further ado, let's make a ring out of a Megalodon tooth. So, to get the party started, I drilled a hole through the Damasteel blank using progressively bigger drill bits until I could use the boring bar to rough out the inner diameter of the ring. Next, I mounted the blank on an expanding mandrel thingy, and I was able to roughly machine the outer diameter of the ring. When it was close, I used a couple of cutting tools to part off the 11mm wide piece of steel that I would use for the ring. I cleaned up the outer edges of the ring, tapered the inside edges and used a rotary tool to do a bit of shaping inside the ring. To begin cutting my inlay channel, I used a marking gauge to score lines around the ring, and when the lines were marked I was able to use cutting tools to rough out the channel. I stopped regularly to check the width of the ring with my broken calipers to ensure that I had a deep enough inlay channel. When it was roughly 2mm deep, I used a knife tool and a file to square up the edges of the inlay channel. At this stage, I sanded the outside of the ring from a 240 to a 1200 grit to remove any tooling marks. For the inside, I used the rotary tool and a bit of sandpaper. You probably shouldn't sand like this in the chuck, but the lathe was running really slow and I was careful not to lose my finger. Just please don't try this at home. With the scratches and the tooling marks removed, I used a red and green polishing compound to bring the ring to a high, sexy shine. Alright, there's the ring that has been buffed to high heaven, and I literally can't wait to see what this comes out like from the acid etch. To bring out the pattern of the Damascus steel, I used a 40% ferric chloride acid solution. I cleaned the ring with distilled water to remove any grime, then I suspended the ring into the acid for about 20 to 30 minutes. I've seen this done with warmed up acid, but I don't have a stove in the workshop, so I just did it at room temperature and it worked out just fine. After a relaxing acid bath, I cleaned the ring off again and dunked it in a bicarb of soda solution to neutralise the acid. Alright, so that is the ring after an acid etch. I've just gone over it really lightly with a bit of 2000 grit to bring out some of the patterns. I think it looks really cool. Patterns have all come out just as planned. So now it's time to inlay some wood and some goddamn Megalodon tooth. Let's do this. I cut a strip of wood veneer that was 6mm wide and was a perfect fit into the inlay channel. Then I trimmed the wood so that it would wrap around the ring once. To prepare the wood for wrapping, I sanded down about 1 centimeter of each edge so it was paper thin. The glue up was easy enough. I just applied a little CA glue and wrapped the wood in a couple of centimeters at a time. I used the back of a tweezers to press the wood in nice and flat and make sure the wrap was tight. Well, the wood's in, looking sick. Time to do some inlays. Once again, I used the marking gauge to score a line where I wanted my Megalodon tooth to be inlaid. With the line scored, I was able to use a triangular file to carve the inlay channel to depth. So for my inlay, I'm going to use this Megalodon tooth, and I bought this amazing specimen from ukge.co.uk. The Megalodon shark was a huge apex predator that lived between 23 million to about 2.6 million years ago. It grew up to about 59 feet, which is roughly 3 times larger than a great white shark. If we take a closer look, it's actually chopped in half anyway, but I'd like to preserve as much of this as possible. And to do that, basically, I'm just going to cut off a few tiny bits from the bottom of the fossil to try and make it look like as natural as possible. And then crush those up into dust and then stick them in the inlay. Imagine how many things this massive shark ate with this tooth. I crunched a few pieces of the shark tooth off using a pliers, and then put them into an improvised pestle and mortar to crush them into dust. To actually set the shark tooth into the inlay channel, I used a toothpick and CA glue. I just dabbed in a little bit of glue and then sprinkled some of the dust into the inlay channel. It took a few rounds to completely fill the channel, but when that was done, I used a file to grind down any excess so the fossil was level and flush with the surface of the wood. With the mega shark inlay done, I cut 2 more channels for the silver bands. The silver bands were made with 0.8mm round silver wire that were just the right length to encircle the whole ring with minimal visible joins. This takes a bit of practice, but I glued the silver in little by little using CA glue and a cocktail stick. When all of the inlays were in, I used a few grits of sandpaper to grind down the silver wire and clean up any messy bits. Time to finish him. To finish the wood portion of the ring, I used CA glue. This is a delicate operation and takes a good bit of precision and dexterity. To begin, I wrapped a few layers of masking tape over the edges of the ring to minimise the cleanup operation after applying the CA glue. Then I applied thin layers of glue to the ring with a cocktail stick and sprayed a light misting of activator spray between coats. This took a while, but I carried on until the CA was level with the edges of the steel ring. After applying what felt like a million layers of CA, it was time for a final polish. I mounted the ring back on the spindle and sanded it with progressively finer grits of sandpaper and then micromesh until the finish was smooth and free of any tooling marks or scratches. After this, I actually etched the ring once again after polishing the CA and then used a buffing wheel and my rotary tool to polish it all up with red and green polishing compounds. And here is the final result.
Oh my.
So I'm really happy with the way that the ring turned out, but it doesn't matter what I think, it doesn't matter what you think, all that matters is what this guy thinks.
Oh. Thanks.
Does it fit?
Look at that.
Ooh, she fits. Oh, let's give him a fist pump. See. It was a beast of a ring and an awesome project. Joe loved it, and him and Lauren had a fantastic day at their wedding in Cardiff. Great success. Thank you all for watching. If you'd like to see more of my work, then please check out my Etsy shop or watch more videos. The links are in the descriptions. See you in the next one.